My name is Jos Smolders, and this is Thursday Afternoon Talks, a series of weekly discussions I have with Frans de Waard about an album, an artist, a label, a genre, or another something musical. Today we have a special episode. We do an interview with our friend, colleague Roel Meelkop. Roel is a Dutch composer, and Frans and I know him already since the 1980s. We've played together a lot. Roel recently released an album called Rest in Space. Roel has always been on the borders of arts and music. So he was formally trained as an artist, but he has always been making electronic music since the 1980s. First with self-released cassettes. He has been part of THU20, Kapotte Muziek, Groen. He's played solo. He's been part of Death Pact in the 1990s. So he's been quite prolific. If you look at his website, you can see that he's been always producing live and recording material. We thought it would be interesting to have a talk with Roel about his music, his ideas, his plans, and about the album. Because the interview took almost an hour, we decided to split the episode in two. This is episode 1. Roel, welcome to the show. This is the first time that we do an interview in Thursday afternoon talks. So welcome, and you released an album a couple of weeks ago, Rest in Space.
Yes.
The design of the cover gives an indication about the theme of the album. Can you tell a bit about this album? Because it has a very specific theme and also I think a reason to start the music, to start composing this.
Yeah. As the liner notes of the CD explain, it's basically a work that has been on my mind for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a work that deals with loss of loved ones, which was funnily enough triggered by the loss of one of our cats, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but somehow it was, and it triggered other losses I had. And very soon afterwards, I lost another dear person. And then it sort of came into
it started rolling.
It started rolling. So it had been on my mind for a long time. Of course, basically, it's not rest in peace. It's rest in space.
Mm-hmm.
It's my pun on peaceful resting when you're dead is something I cannot understand.
Mm-hmm.
And I can imagine that we all are made of space dust or space particles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I think we will return there somewhere.
Yeah.
Sometime.
Uh-huh.
So actually, it's my requiem, of course.
Yeah.
I think every composer of any stature has made something like this in their lives. And I thought, as a composer of my stature, I should do the same. So I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when it was a clear decision to start this project. I think that when I listen to the music, to the sounds, in a sense, it's different from the works that you have made in the past years. The similarity to me is that it has the same kind of contemplativeness. It's contemplative music. But sonically, it's much more spacious and open than your previous works. What was that a conscious decision that you made?
Difficult to say. This work is really something that kind of happened, and I let it happen more than I do with probably other music in which I cut in the flow of things because I think I should be doing something at some point. And in this work, I laid back more and let the sounds develop and go on and get into, and then the flow that I was talking about just now also is mediated through the music, I think. So it's I think these kinds of sounds and this kind of flow is basically always there in my music, but it's always I don't know, countered with other interests that I have and impatience maybe, or I don't know. And in this case, I just let it flow. The rest in space is also probably the spaciousness of the music.
Absolutely, yeah. That was my my association anyway. But when you start it, when you start a project like this, then you start collecting sounds and you start thinking about. Like for instance, in your previous CDs that I've listened in the past few days, what often happens is that there is you start with a very low rumble, or it is
Okay.
there is like the sound of a field recording, but nothing really is happening, and then things start building up. And here you have a very clearly defined sound. So I think you also have a clearly defined sound source and instrumentation.
Mhm.
Can you tell something about that?
Well, it's true. The whole piece is basically a very simple recording of. I don't know if you know those. I have these bell cymbals.
Mm-hmm.
So they're very small cymbals with and it's more bell than
Curved,
cymbal.
yeah. Uh-huh.
So they have more a bell sound than a
Mm-hmm.
cymbal sound, but they're still cymbals.
Right.
And I've got a couple of those, and I just started recording them, and I started playing with those sounds, and what you hear now is basically those recorded sounds stretched
Mm-hmm.
very, very long. The stretching also causes a spaciousness to appear in the sounds.
Right.
It happens.
It comes with the algorithm. Yeah.
It comes with the algorithm, comes
Yeah.
with territory. And this created the flow that I was probably looking for. I wasn't really aware of that at the time, but working on this material,
Yeah.
I discovered that this would be the right stuff to use for this work.
All right.
So this is not like a very conscious beginning up front. Okay, I'm going to make it my requiem or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's more that the circumstances, having lost some dear ones, and then working on these sounds sort of got together, maybe randomly or maybe unconsciously, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But this created the momentum for this to happen.
Yeah.
And then I went with the flow.
Yeah. So
very corny, but that's what it is. I let it happen.
You let it happen. Yes. Right.
Yes.
So, but choosing the bell sounds, I mean, is of course also used in rituals, and so
yeah.
The
bell has, of course, has a long history of use in religion, in rituals,
exactly,
in healing as well.
Yeah.
So probably it's it's not very strange that this was the sound that I could use very well in this project. Yeah. It's pretty obvious, maybe. Yeah. So there's nothing really. Yeah.
Did you also look for inspiration in other requiems, like traditional ones? For instance, the structure of a requiem.
No. Okay. It's a very long time ago. I guess about 20 years ago, I was digging a bit into requiems, because I already was interested in them then, and I was already thinking about I will do one myself at one point, but it was never the right moment until now.
Yeah.
So I didn't listen to anything recently relating to the subject. No. Nothing at all, really, because this thing happened, and I just let it go. Yeah. It sounds a bit romantic, like the inspiration came and everything, but it's an interplay of being in the sort of right frame of mind, digging into the right sounds, and then things happen. Yeah. And well, then I go with it. Yeah. This is what happened. So I didn't really dig into other requiems or
no, because there is a certain structure in the music, and I mean you bring certain new sounds into the mix while it's evolving. I really like that fact that it's evolving, but also that there are, especially towards the end, that you bring in these pulses or which bring
There's a synthetic voice in there, huh?
Yeah, something. Well, I don't know.
And it disintegrates.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah. So that's probably what makes the pulses, because it's a loop.
Yeah.
Of a voice repeating the same phrase over and over again, and this sound is disintegrating, and it causes basically the whole work to disintegrate in the end.
Yeah.
So it dies.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah, but it never becomes quiet. That's why I thought it was surprising, because if there is a loss, there's silence, probably. But it never happens. That's one of the things I thought was surprising about this work, compared to the other work, in which silent bits, longer or shorter, play quite an important role.
Yeah, absolutely.
But for me, silence is strongly connected to peacefulness, but not necessarily to death or loss, because the loss of a loved one is a small tragedy, of course, or a big one, depending on who's been lost. And for me, that's a very noisy affair, emotional, mental. It's very noisy. So for me, this expression of
Now go on.
So the expression of loss for me is quite a noisy affair, and there's hardly any silence involved, which is
but why not make a noise CD then?
No, but I think what I don't know for sure, but what could have happened is that there's some sort of resolve of the anger or the sadness, and that you at a certain point come to terms with it, and that and I don't know if that is part of what you produced, or that you just wanted to be in that mood, and the end is in a certain way. At the end, you are in the same state of mind as at the beginning, because if we go back to the term of the requiem, and I don't say that's what you should have done, but the requiem is the music as part of a ritual, and the ritual is to there's someone has died, or there's loss, and at the end there is we say goodbye in a sense. So it's intro into Paradisum. But you didn't take it that literal.
No. I gave it my own. I gave it my own angle.
Yeah.
And for me, it's more like the expression of pain, sorrow, grief.
Yeah.
And coming to terms with that grief. So when Frans is asking, why did you not make a noise CD? This is for me quite a noise CD.
Indeed, there are. I mean, there's a lot of sound constantly in your in this release, which to me sets it apart from a lot of your previous works, which is much more
work still to come, probably. Yeah.
Oh yeah, well. We don't know.
No, but it's true. There is it's different in the sense that there is less abruptness in this piece. It's more like a continuous flow. There's always sound, and there's less, maybe structure in the track. It's built up and it has a structure, but it's kind of subtle and
absolutely,
yeah, kind of mellow, maybe even.
Yeah,
which is strange because it deals with something heavy, whereas my regular work, so to speak, is probably more abrupt and more heavy to listen to. I don't know.
Yeah. No, well, in the sense that, like I said earlier, when I listen to your music, I hear that you very deliberately structure your sounds. So
Yeah.
The sounds have a very definite gestalt. So there's very low rumble, or there's a noise, or there is something silence and something breaks, and things like that. And that's the material with which you, at least that's what I hear you. I think I hear you doing is that's how you work with sound. Am I right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I construct, basically.
Yeah.
It's a collage.
Yeah.
Or construction.
Yeah.
Which is less so in. It's so funny because we're talking about rest in space and spaciousness in sound, but we're talking about reverb, and it's not a natural sound, but it's created by stretching sounds. So it's not real space. In my regular music, I perceive way more space than in this track, because this track is more, I don't know, it's sort of engulfs you more than my regular music.
Yeah.
My regular music is more open, more like a building, a glass house or something that you can see the glass, but you can also see through it. You can see behind. So there's more depth, there's more layers maybe. So for me, that's more spacious than this release.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean. Yeah. I too have the idea that what you make normally are objects, which you can observe.
By listening, yes.
Yes, by listening.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But,
I agree.
Jos, but if the other work is objects, how would you label this then?
This is much more something that goes into your head. I mean, that's what I liked when I listened to it the first time. I was really it was totally not what I would have expected from Roel. Because
same here.
Yeah, I listened. I put my headphones on. I listened to it, and actually, the sound is all around you. So what you say that the reverberation that's a big part of the sound is digital reverberation, but it's everywhere.
Yes.
So yeah, in that sense, it was surprising.
I was thinking it was all electronic work. Some kind of, your current modular setup doing something and not something digital or with an acoustic sound source. I'm quite surprised to learn.
Yeah. The basis is basic. I think it's all acoustics. Probably halfway through there's some other sounds coming in, and the voice is an electronic voice. It's like a computer voice.
Yeah.
A vowel synth. So that's electronic, but yeah, especially in the beginning, the first part is based on these bell cymbals. Yeah.
Okay, so I suggest we listen to a part of the new album, so the viewers can have an idea of what it sounds like. Yeah.
Okay.
You can also listen to Thursday Afternoon Talks through Spotify and Apple Podcasts.